Will it do so again, or now is the curve going the other way?
It's going the other way, David. There's still a conservative approach toward fiscal management and the approach of government. That the idea that government that governs less really does dominate the psyche here in New Hampshire. I think what happened in 06 and 08, where folks and voters were really frustrated with the progress of the war in Iraq. They were frustrated with, frankly, some of the spending they saw under President Bush, right, and decided for change in 2008. But the change they got is not the change they wanted, and they will vote Republican in droves this November.
By the way, I'm curious, if the independents and some of the Republicans hadn't voted for Obama, would it have voted for the Republicans? Would it indeed have voted for McCain?
You know, it's unclear right now, but I'm convinced that this year in 2010, that a lot of those independent voters, and really they're the most important bloc here in New Hampshire, they're recognizing what's going on in Washington is taking this country in the wrong direction, and they want to get it back on track. And I think the Republicans have a message of lower spending, fiscal discipline, lower taxes, trusting the private sector to create jobs,
well, if they
and
stick
getting
to
government out of the way.
If they stick to it, Sean, you know, if you're elected, I mean, that's the point, is that independents are wonderful people because they'll hold you to your word. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, they'll kick you out the next time.
No question, and they should. Republicans need to get back to basics. We need to get back to the conservative principles that made this party great to begin with. We need to create real contrast between the two parties in order for us to be successful in the elections. And we need to get back to the concepts that made this party great of less government spending, more local control, lower taxes, and trusting the private sector to create jobs, not big government programs. And I'm sure if we are able to create a roadmap for economic recovery based on not big government programs, but the private sector and small businesses on Main Street, we'll have an opportunity to have majority control in Congress next year and in cycles to come.
Sean, stay with us. We want to bring in Toby Smith of NBTinvestors.com and conservative columnist S.E. Cupp. S.E., what's interesting about New Hampshire is it used to be conservative, but it was those independents, what used to be called the Reagan Democrats when they went for Reagan, and they are the ones who voted for Obama. Without those swing independents, the Democrats are not going to win at the fall at all.
Probably not. You know, it's funny. I grew up in Massachusetts, just south of New Hampshire, and you'd see all the license plates, live free or die.
That's on the license plate. That's right.
That mantra, that ethos seems to have come and gone. I don't know if it's a thing of the past entirely, but hopefully that mantra
Sean, it's on the comeback.
Hopefully it does come back. And I think this waste, this expansion of government, this idiotic spending spree, I hope that's bringing some people back into the live free or die fold.
And the epitome of that idiocy of thinking the government can solve everything is this bridge to nowhere.
Well, right, remember, this is the mushroom strategy. This is where you cover everything with manure and then keep everybody in the dark. And the idea that we would not find out this stuff, number one. Number two, what's the quid pro quo? I would love to see the person and the deal that was made on this, because it exercises and sort of illustrates the logic of what we've sort of fallen to here, which is, you know, if I get your vote, okay, I'll do the bridge doesn't go anywhere. Oh, that's okay. Listen, I'll still do it. I mean, if you were really willing to make that type of deal, well, how about a $600 million bridge? How about an $800? If you're willing to go into that low, you'll do anything.
And we got to say, we can put up a list of these projects.
Yeah.
And there are dozens of them, hundreds of them, thousands of them throughout stimulus. These are some of the ones that the Republicans came out with as examples of the idiocy of some of these stimulus projects. But, you know, the lion's share of the money, Sean, went to states. I mean, the biggest tranche of all the stimulus dollars went to states to bail them out. But, of course, the individual states make problems as well, make stupid decisions as well.
Well, that's right, David. And with the case of this bridge to nowhere, if it really was a meritorious project worthy of taxpayer dollars, shouldn't the local folks have voted to raise that money locally to restore the bridge, rather than have the federal government and the federal taxpayers on the hook for it?
But why do that anymore? I mean, that's the issue. Why actually go through that exercise when you can just go get a piece of the government to come pay? By the way,
well, hold on. You asked the question. Yeah. The point is that the locals, and Sean, you'll back me up in this, the locals know who the good guys and the crooks are. The locals know what project is necessary and what's a bridge to nowhere. That's why it should be done on the local level. That's why local spending is the key to getting this economy back in order and to getting our priorities straight about government spending, right?
Absolutely. The further decisions get away from the local communities, whether they're education decisions, which should be done at the local school board, or whether they're decisions about historical preservation. When it came to this bridge, it was really a historical preservation project. If it was really a meritorious, worthy project, then the local community could have raised the money either through a bond issuance or set up a nonprofit entity and raise those funds locally. If it was really a worthy project that the local community deemed worthy, then they should have been able to find the funds to do that.
Right,
this was not a transportation project.
Hold on, John. Go ahead, Essie.
Sean, you're absolutely right, but let's not forget that the stimulus was in part created to bring jobs back to America. And I read that this bridge brought all of 1.9 jobs.
Yeah.
That's a failure as well. It's not just reckless spending. It's not just, is this a worthy project? We should be focused on employment.
75
By the way, we have to, hold on a second. We have to give your opponent, Sean, her fair due. Democrat Carol Shea Porter has responded. Here's what she says about this project. Congress did not vote on individual projects, and this is not even in Congresswoman Shea Porter's district, but the local community and the people of both political parties who reviewed the project supported it. Is that true, Sean?
The reality is that my opponent, Carol Shea Porter, has voted over 95% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. She voted for the stimulus program. She's someone who believes that big government solutions are the answer to most of the fiscal problems facing the country today. That's where the problem began, that somehow the government knows better how to get jobs created than the private sector. And that is the problem here. The reality is those jobs that were created temporarily to repave this bridge, they're gone now. What we need to focus on are real, permanent private sector jobs. And you do that by helping the small business person by cutting their taxes and getting the regulatory burden as low as possible, not by more big federal government spending projects.
Sean Mahoney, we thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Sean.
Have a good weekend.
We'll see more of Essie and Toby coming up. You have a good weekend, too. Coming up on